Now we're going to get laser focused on the business side of things. These are the relationships inside of your network. And really, there's two main areas that I like to focus on for where the jobs come from. And they couldn't be more different in how you're going to maximize your efficiency in each of those areas with each of those different groups, which each of those different types of people. You need to tailor your approach so that, again, you can maximize the results that come in. The first one that we're going to talk about in the next module is warm relationships. And the second one is cold relationships. So easy enough to tell the difference between the two. Warm is any contact that you would have come across before, anyone that knows you before they hire you. Cold is the opposite, is people that you've never worked with before, you've never met in person, they've never had a contact that they work with that has worked with you. So people that are just finding you on their own. Now, I will start off by saying that the cold relationships are significantly more difficult, significantly more. And the problem with cold relationships is that when you're starting out, you really only have cold relationships unless you've built up a network around you, which is why people love film school so much and why there are still people that advocate for film school because of the network that you will build up. All of a sudden, if you go to film school, you have a whole host, a network of individuals who are at basically the same level. And everyone, when they get done, even when they're in school, everyone is looking for jobs, looking ways to make ends meet and try to get this thing off of the ground. And that's why it's so advantageous, because you have this huge network. If you're starting without that background, if you're starting without that network, like I did, just on your own, you're starting entirely cold. So as you start in your career, the majority of your focus is going to be on cold relationships. And then slowly but surely, as the network builds and you get more contacts and more jobs, now comes the warm relationship side of things. And that is much easier track. It's much more greased and lubricated to easily slide into the work when you're in those relationships. Now, warm relationships require a lot of things to go well. Right? It's not an easy process. It is easier to get the end result, which is the work that you're after, but it's about maintaining relationships. It's about understanding social cues and social settings and staying on top of things. And it comes back to the management side of things. So a lot of the times it could be anybody that recommends you for a warm relationship gig. It could be the production assistant. It could be the editor. It could be the director. It could be the producer, anyone inside of your crew. You'll find very quickly that how you carry yourself on set and how you carry yourself in the pre-production process, in the production process, the ease of communication that you have with individuals, the ease in which you make the entire production for everyone around you. Do you make it hard on people? Do you wait to order things till the very last second? Do you change your mind 4 different times for the lighting? Do you just rub people the wrong way? This is where you'll start to see the benefits of not doing that, of being likable, being someone that gets the job done, and being someone that exceeds expectations. So it's funny because the main thing that I tell individuals, this is outside of being a cinematographer. This is just people that work in freelance. It could be any profession, but even more so for cinematographers, because you are in charge of quite a few people and you have to show that managerial experience. But even for people in the crew, I always say that the number one reason for coming back on a job after you have made contact, after you've established a relationship, you just can't be a dipshit, right? And everyone will have their own definition of that, but whatever definition it is, it's not good to be that. Don't be a dipshit, right? You have to be a problem solver. You have to be someone that understands schedules and is able to deliver. Basically, for a cinematographer and for warm relationships to really blossom, you have to build up confidence and build up trust. And it is so much easier to maintain trust than it is for someone to trust you that very first time and build on that. That's why it's so much easier for warm relationships to keep you busy, because you have that ability to make an impression. What do you say? What you say, can you deliver it? How easy was it for you to deliver? How accurately did you deliver it? Those are where you can marry up your technical and creative skills as well as your managerial skills, and you can come up with a proven formula, a proven way of working, a track record for delivering on jobs, right? Because again, we think back to the commercial landscape. Think back to what each individual along the way, each group along the way, what their needs are, what they're looking for from a project. If you're able to tick all of those boxes, and more likely than not, it's not going to happen on every single job, where you might rub someone the wrong way, or you might have to, make the director happy in order to make the producer not as happy. But it's a balancing act. It's understanding those relationships. It's understanding those cues and how to carry yourself on set, which is a big one, which we're going to talk about later. Just how to carry yourself on set and understand when it's your turn to chime in with ideas, when it's not your turn, how to best make use of your ideas and try and be as persuasive as possible. So it's not an easy process, but it's certainly easier than the alternative, which is cold relationships. Now, cold relationships are anything website, Instagram, any other social media arena. Those are the cold relationships. And for cold, it's really difficult to establish cold relationships without work, which is the worst part about just starting, because for cold relationships to really start to speed up, you need work to show what you can do. You need to have the proven track record. So although you have to rely heavily on cold stuff at the beginning, that's when you have to find ways to build up the work, find ways to build up your past experience, to go out and do lots of spec ads, to make sure that that the areas or the people that are in your area are aware that you're looking to do more work, that you're looking to help out, that you're looking to expand your network and expand your work, and then make sure that your website is up to date. Every time you do a new project, you should have it in your reel. Every time you do a new project, it should be up on your website. You should have the credits. You should have who's involved. The bigger that you can make those things look, the more it looks like other people outside of the cold relationship people have trusted you before. So you really have to show that you are trustworthy by showing examples, showing the results that you've gotten. Slowly but surely, you can start to switch over to the warm relationships. But again, it's a tricky balance between the two. And as I said in the previous module, it never gets more difficult than right now. Whatever you're experiencing now, it only gets easier as you get more work, as the network expands. And when you're at that point where you are relying on cold relationships, the hardest part about starting out, besides not having the experience of the work behind you, right? You need to build up that trust. You need to build up those relationships and really build up that warm relationship network. The hardest part is you probably aren't aware of the overall commercial production cycle, and understanding the cycle, and when it's the crunch time for the production company, when it's crunch time for the director, when it's crunch time for the cinematographer, understanding, because not everybody has the same rhythm on set or even in pre-production, right? The location manager is going to be under a lot of stress weeks before the shoot. And then on the day, they're going to be under stress because they've got to manage the location. But not so much in between. Once the location has been decided, it's really negotiating back and forth. The producer, they're going to have pinpoints where they have those last pre-production meetings. They're trying to get through casting. The director, they'll also have different pinpoints. So understanding the entire production cycle, which is what we're going to talk about next, will allow you to understand when it's best to contact those people, when it's best to reach out, what you should be saying to those individuals to try and build up some trust, that you understand their position and that you're willing to help and that you're willing to problem solve and be there for them. And the relationships is the most important part about the business. If you're looking for more work, this is where you need to spend your time, on these relationships. And it's not a constant thing. It's just something to have in the back of your mind, that anybody on set could be that person that opens up a warm relationship network, right? And that job could come from anyone. It could come from the PA. It could come from the dolly grip. It could come from the makeup people. It could come from anywhere. So having that attitude that we talked about, being positive, being a problem solver, is not only going to make the results of whatever you're doing better, but it's also going to open you up for future possibilities to come.